Hey there, guys. All right, and welcome to another week of World War II, 58. October 5th, 1940. Hitler. What a great timing of this video, huh? With the current president of the USA. Hitler and the Art of the Deal. German negotiations with Spain. Also, this video was made 5 years ago. This would have been towards the end of his first term. Oh well. I hate this place. Anyways, I've got nothing else to say here at the beginning of the video. Let's dive in.
No, they don't. They don't drive on the left there anymore. They used to, but they drive on the right now.
The correct side of the road. If I can bring that bit back from the dead. Mainly because the bit would still be here if I were still watching geography now, but unfortunately, some third-party company decided to be like, ew, claim.
Yeah, they changed like 10, 11 years ago. Okay. October 5th, 1940. They are the European leaders of the Berlin-Rome-Tokyo axis, and they have big plans for the future. So this week, Hitler meets with Mussolini.
Yes.
I'm Indy Nidell. This is World War II. Last week, Italy, Germany, and Japan signed the Tripartite Pact, officially creating the Axis powers. This was in large part to dissuade the U.S. from entering the war or expanding its influence in the Far East. The Battle of Britain continued. The Battle of 100 regiments did as well, and the British and Free French tried and failed to take Dakar. I'm going to do something a bit differently today.
Oh?
I'm going to look at some numbers for the whole month of October. In the month, the British lose 103 ships for 443,000 tons. U-boats sink 352,400 of this. Shipping convoys...
What's the other 20% there?
...now have escorts as far as 19 degrees west. That's around 300 miles, 500 kilometers west of Ireland. But there are not enough escorts to go around. Germany is also helped a lot by the Atlantic bases taken with the fall of France. They no longer have to run the gauntlet of the North Sea. Germany now also widely uses wolfpack tactics with U-boat groups. There is little that can be done against these or against the U-boat's favorite technique of attacking on the surface from within the center of a convoy at night. The submarine presents only a small, insignificant profile to visual search, and radar is not yet advanced enough to conquer this deficiency. The listening devices with which escorts are equipped are not able to discern the difference between the sound of a submarine and the sound of the ships of the convoy, and ASDIC is only effective
ASDIC. Man.
Against submerged submarines. Even if they are sighted, the U-boats are often able to escape into the darkness because they are faster on the surface than the corvettes, which form a large part of the escort forces. I'll jump forward again with some aerial figures from James Holland. In October, the Luftwaffe will lose 379 aircraft and British Fighter Command 180.
Okay, maybe we're getting into the numbers that I've been wanting.
Actually, just this week on the 4th, in spite of all the fighting in the skies the past 3 months and all the lost planes and pilots, Fighter Command for the first time has 700 planes ready to take off. There is a change in the British High Command, though, this week. On the 3rd, former Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain resigns from the War Cabinet. Herbert Morrison replaces John Anderson as Home Secretary on the 4th. Now,
look how dapper this gentleman is. Look at him with his glasses. Look at him. He knows he's killing it in that photo. He's like, how do you do?
4th. Now, Chamberlain is a sick man by this time, hence his resignation. He left London a couple weeks ago and collapsed when he got home and had to stay in bed for a few days. He had offered his resignation then, but Prime Minister Winston Churchill had refused it. Chamberlain will resign as leader of the Conservative Party on the 9th and will be replaced by Churchill. By this time, Chamberlain is aware that his illness is likely terminal. Of course, many people in Britain have died recently because of the Luftwaffe's bombing campaign. The civilian death toll in Britain for September from the Blitz is 6,954.
Oh, damn.
On October 5th, though, Adolf Hitler calls off the daytime bombing raids of London. He's been losing too many planes. The nighttime raids will, however, continue. He's quite busy this week, meeting the 4th with Italian leader Benito Mussolini at the Bremner Pass. Hitler warns Mussolini against starting new military campaigns, and they talk about the Mediterranean and how to use it against Britain. Hitler suggests to Mussolini that Spain might be brought into the war on the Axis side, maybe by offering Spanish dictator Francisco Franco part of French North Africa. Then Germany could use Gibraltar, which would be a big deal. And to make the French accept the deal, they could offer them part of British West Africa. Now, Mussolini seems pretty sold on the whole thing, but since the whole idea involves giving him Tunis, Corsica, and Nice from France, kind of makes sense. When Hitler gets back to Berlin, he will arrange for visits to Franco and Vichy French leader Philippe Pétain, and will also invite Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov for a visit to talk about what Germany and the USSR can do to take advantage of Britain in its current state. Now a few words about Operation Felix. It involves Gibraltar.
Who?
Okay, going back to the Battle of
What
France.
did Felix do?
There were those who advised Hitler to make moves on Gibraltar and North Africa next instead of Britain. Reichsmarshal Hermann Goering advised an occupation of Spain. General Heinz
That did not work well for Napoleon. I would advise against that.
Guderian suggested sending 2 panzer divisions through Spain to occupy Gibraltar. And Alfred Jodl, Armed Forces Chief of Staff, even came up with a plan to isolate Britain by invading North Africa, Gibraltar, and Spain, and taking the Suez Canal, all instead of invading Britain. German Admiral Wilhelm
So essentially, Napoleon's plan. History's repeating itself.
Canaris, an expert on Spain,
Well, it's rhyming so closely that it almost sounds like the same thing.
went to Spain in July to assess the situation. Now, we know that Canaris is actually working from within against Hitler and Germany. So when he returns to Germany and says Franco doesn't want to join the war, it is because he is actively dissuading Franco
That's a perspective I've never heard in regards to Franco saying no. Ooh, Canaris, you sly dog. You.
from joining the Axis powers. Canaris also knows that Germany could take Gibraltar if they sent enough men and machines there, but he reports negatively. Specifically, without 15-inch heavy assault cannon, which he knew were not available, Gibraltar could not be taken. He gave his opinion that even if Germany, with Spain's cooperation, were able to take Gibraltar, the British would land in Morocco and French West Africa. Canaris met with Franco a couple of times, actually, and told him things like, if Spain joins the Axis, then Britain might invade Spain. And not to be worried about turning down Germany because they have zero plans of their own to invade Spain because Hitler's thinking about the USSR. According to John Waller in The Unseen War in Europe, Canaris even told Franco he does not think Germany can win the war. So
God damn, Canaris? Holy shit.
don't join the Axis powers. Franco got pretty confident by all of this. So his demands, if Spain were to cooperate with Germany, are to receive Gibraltar and French Morocco. Germany must also provide wheat and oil to help the Spanish economy. And German
I don't think Germany's got oil.
forces must first land on Britain proper in an invasion. Hitler sent Canaris to meet Franco again to get him to soften his demands. And Canaris again told Franco that it would be stupid to join the losing side. Hitler, though, has approved a general plan for taking Gibraltar. Operation Felix calls for 2 army corps to enter Spain via the Pyrenees, one to assault Gibraltar and the other in reserve. There would be air support as well. The whole thing is to be under Walter von Reichenau, and the plan has ambitions to take Spanish North African territory and the Canary Islands. Well, Hitler is now going to meet Franco in person in a couple of weeks and try to convince him himself to join the war. And at the eastern end of German-occupied territory, on October 1st, Operation Otto begins. This is a program of construction and improvement on the roads and railways leading to the border with the Soviet Union, all in preparation for a German invasion next spring. All these invasion plans And far to the east, the Chinese are still trying to fight off an invasion, though by now, Phase 2 of the Battle of 100 Regiments is slowly giving way to Phase 3. Characterized by ferocious Japanese efforts to mop up opposition and a de-escalation of the 8th Route Army operations back to the level of guerrilla warfare. It is true that the Chinese Communist Army
Hold on. Go on video of them throwing those grenades again.
the level of guerrilla warfare.
Those are not flying far enough. You're running straight back into them. Especially this dude here is gonna run right to where that one would blow up. I'm wondering, is this propaganda film or is it? I mean, obviously it's both. But like, was this filmed during actual combat or filmed when there wasn't any fighting?
It is true that the Chinese Communist Army regiments are dispersing into smaller units and being pulled back to the relative safety of their base areas. And as the battle goes on, and it doesn't have a real end, it just peters out, the communist forces will be on the defensive. Perhaps a few small tactical engagements or a little harassment and sabotage will happen, but there are no 100 regiments left with which to give battle. That does not mean that Mao and the communist leaders announced the battle to be over. Far from it, because they still need to use it as propaganda to show that their united front with the nationalist forces is still united, especially with things like the nationalists and communists fighting with each other this week, which I'll cover next week, but which threaten the united front. Another sort of united front was declared last week, that tripartite pact between Japan, Germany, and Italy. Because of that pact, and also because of the Japanese occupation of French Indochina
The emperor is really short. Ooh.
last week, Britain has been reassessing things. Britain now plans
Or the Germans and Italians are just really tall. Maybe a bit of both.
to soon reopen the Burma Road, closed these past few months, a major supply route for the Chinese nationalists. But that is not going to go over well with Japan. So Winston Churchill asks American President Franklin Roosevelt to send an American squadron, the bigger the better, to pay a friendly visit to Singapore. Anything in this direction would have a marked deterrent effect upon a Japanese declaration of war on us over the Burma Road opening. At a meeting the 5th, Admiral Harold Stark, Chief of American Naval Operations, strongly opposes this. He is supported by Undersecretary of State Sumner Welles, who has Roosevelt's ear. Roosevelt tells Stark the next day, tomorrow, to cancel the order for sending 4,000 Marines to various Pacific stations. He would rather have an Army division reinforce Hawaii. The General Staff opposes this, though. What they say they need is anti-aircraft personnel to man the equipment that is already there on Oahu. Also,
American military leaders being on top of the game and actually being able to assess the situation and understand what is possible in the modern war here. Good job. Some competent leadership in American history. A rare thing.
Also on the 5th, the Tripartite Pact is condemned by American Secretary of the Navy Frank Knox, and he announces he's calling up some of the Naval Reserve. And here are a couple of notes to end the week. On the 1st, the Germans and Finns reach an agreement. The Germans promise arms, and the Finns will sell them nickel from the mines near Petsamo in exchange. And on the 3rd, all Jews in occupied Warsaw are directed to move into the ghetto. The 150,000 Jews in Warsaw that do not already live in the mainly Jewish district are ordered to move there, and it is to be walled in. So 400,000 people will live where 250,000 had lived before. Those ordered to move can only take what they can carry in their arms or on a handcart. Everything else, furniture, kitchen equipment, all the things that make a house a home must be abandoned. And of course, the 100,000 Poles living in what is now to be the ghetto are likewise uprooted. On the 4th, Jews in Praga, across the river from Warsaw, are also ordered to move to the Warsaw ghetto. And the week ends with Adolf Hitler making plans for the future, the Chinese still fighting for their future, the British planning to help provide for that, but for Neville Chamberlain and the Jews of Warsaw, future prospects are growing dim. Imagine being Neville Chamberlain just now,
No, thank
Dragged
you.
into a war you not only didn't want, but didn't even believe could happen. An object of ridicule to many for believing Hitler's promises in spite of the mounting evidence they were false. An object of admiration to some for still believing honor or decency had some sort of a place in a darkening world. And now knowing that the end is near, and there is no end to the war in sight. Imagine going through everything.
I mean, here's the thing, though. Why trust a man that subverted his own nation's constitution to gain ultimate power and authority? Right? And eliminated political rivals first before then doing what he's doing with the Anschluss, and then the annexation of Czechoslovakia, all that. Chamberlain really doesn't have a place to stand, I think, in believing that Hitler was telling the truth with all of that. Like, I understand wanting to avoid war when you are someone in that age that had seen the First World War, doing what you can to avoid that, a repeat of that. That I understand. But there's a difference between wanting to avoid that and believing Hitler's telling the fucking. He was a terrible human being that took power through subversion, and then once he had it, I mean, slight subversion, he also was a bit like, oh, you know what I mean. Anyways.
Everything he's done the past few years, and knowing that you will not be around to find out who wins. That must be pure torture.
Yeah.
The Germans and
I was thinking that same thing in my head, though, when talked about Neville Chamberlain being terminally ill. But that was week 58 of World War II, October 5th, 1940. Hitler and the Art of the Deal. German negotiations with Spain. I have nothing else to add here at the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.